Indiana playing, speaking of Western Kentucky, Indiana playing Northern Kentucky, who coached by Darren Horn, previously at Western Kentucky. So a lot of crossover there. And speaking of that team, he likes to do a lot of trapping. Indiana's had a lot of problems with the ball, holding on to the ball, Rick. Is that something that could be problematic for them tonight, you think?
Yeah, I think so. Northern Kentucky's record is really a little deceiving. They've lost like 2 games, I think, in overtime, and they lost another one on a buzzer beater. So they're not as down as their record indicates, and it's a program that's been 2 years ago. They won the Horizon League NCAA tournament bid, but didn't get to go because of COVID. And then last year they got beat in the semifinals. So, like a lot of teams at that level, they usually have competitive guards where they really don't have people that can compete or the big men because there aren't as many to go around. So Indiana favored by 18 or 19, probably something like that.
Yeah, one of those Christmas games. It's kind of hard to get up for these games, Bob. I mean, even if you're a student, there's nobody on campus. There's nothing going on. It's just dead out. Your Christmas is a couple days away. Yeah, all that stuff, man. It's like, wow. It's got to be hard to get up for those games.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah, but I'll tell you what. I want to see some decent guard play out of Indiana. Of course, Xavier Johnson got booed last time at Assembly Hall. I tend to agree with Mike Woodson that if you want to boo Jonathan Taylor or Darius Leonard or whatever, I mean these are college kids. I've never really been down with that whole idea, but yeah, their guard play. It just makes me wonder how bad is Christian Lander. He can't seem to find the basketball court when your guard play is so substandard.
Yeah, there's 2 questions that I think that Mike is done with right now, and it's Christian Lander and it's the booing of people. He's done with that stuff, man, because he gets asked that question so much. He's really, but. Yeah, it's to not see him at all is, Rick, it is really a little surprised to see him 0 hit the court.
Yeah, as many 0 games as there have been. Yeah, it is. But I didn't see the last game, not all of it. I saw part of it, but he looks still engaged on the bench, like he's in on whatever the plan is. I don't know if they're telling him he's got certain things he needs to improve or benchmarks he's got to reach to get on the court, but it's obvious there's something in his game that Mike Woodson doesn't think is up to standards, or he'd play him, because Leal's playing now more than he is, whether he's just not guarding the way he needs to guard or he turns the ball over too easily. There's something that's bugging Mike Woodson and the rest of the coaching staff.
Mm-hmm. And in essence, he's a freshman, Bob. I mean, people have to remember he's just a freshman, so he needs to be seen as a freshman. If they can get that coming early a year ago out of their heads, because he shouldn't have been at Indiana.
Shouldn't have been in Indiana last year.
So
that was a mistake.
Just look at him as a freshman and who's learning under the first year under Mike Woodson. So I think they have to look at it as a new thing, and if you do, then all things are normal.
Yeah, but he is a 5-star guy. He was he not the top point guard coming out of high school, or one of the top point guards? So you have to wonder what's going on there. But like Rick said, he still is engaged. He still seems to want the right things. I think over time he's going to be their guy, because look, Xavier Johnson is who he is. Rob Finney, I like the way he played the other day at the Crossroads, but that's not a consistent thing with Rob. I just don't know where that killer instinct and that aggressiveness is. And I've been asking that same question for how many years? So, over time, you would hope that Lander would get in there, but I promise I won't ask Mike that question.
That would be a good idea.
Indiana head off on that one.
Indiana football needing a quarterback, Rick. Actually, a couple quarterbacks, really. They need one from the high school ranks to get started, but they need one now. I think someone that can step in next year, because I don't think that they have a quarterback that can take that starting role right now.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to get a high school guy now. I mean, when the Hoover kid flipped on him, that hurt, and then they tried to get it on the kid from Alabama who decommitted from Oregon, and when he chose to go to South Carolina after Spencer Rattler already transferred there, that wasn't a good sign.
Could not believe that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think their best bet is to go in the transfer portal and get who they can. I know that Bo Nix came off the table yesterday and went to Oregon. There's still 3 or 4 guys out there. There'll probably be 3 or 4 more go in after the bowl games. But, yeah, they got to get somebody. And it'll be interesting to see who they pick, because I think it'll be a good indication of what they value in the quarterback under the new offensive coordinator. Is it a guy who's, a pocket passer? Or is it a guy who's a little bit of a more mobile, or is it a guy who's really known for running?
Are we completely down on Donovan McCulley?
No, I don't think so. I mean, he never went through spring practice last year like a lot of kids enroll early, and I don't think he expected to play. He didn't get that many snaps in the fall. The offensive line wasn't very good. The receivers weren't very good other than Hendershot, and that team got beaten down by the early losses, and I think by the middle of the year they checked out. So I think he's got a chance to still be a player. The other kid we've never seen play, who's been there for 2 or 3 years, is Dexter Williams, who I don't know, they were pretty high on him a couple of years ago, so I think we forget about him. If he's healthy, he could be in the mix. But they got to get another guy for sure. They got to get a portal guy.
Absolutely. The Colts, speaking of quarterbacks, the Colts, Carson Wentz, Bob, you were talking about him earlier, but man, they've gone from 0-3 start and looking like they're going to be a playoff team now.
They do. Look, honestly, I think you could see this coming because the early schedule was brutal. It was the toughest 4-game stretch to start the season in the league. Carson missed virtually all of training camp. Then he had the bad ankles, so he was totally immobile. The offensive line was all beat up early. He wasn't getting protected. I honestly thought that it would kind of happen the way it's happened, that they would go on a roll, much like they did a couple of years ago when they started 1-5 and won, I think, 9 out of 10. This is a dangerous team. The only thing that really scares me is they don't have any depth at wide receiver. I mean, I wouldn't even say depth. They don't have anything at wide receiver except for Michael Pittman. Zach Pascal's got 36 catches all year. T.Y. Hilton's got 18. Ashton Doolin's made some plays, but he's not a guy you're going to count on. So I think that's the one area where you look at the Colts and say that's going to stop them from getting to the Super Bowl. I mean, they may still, but that's the thing that scares me most, is not Carson Wentz, because I think Wentz will be fine. I think it's the lack of wide receiving talent that they have that's going to be problematic.
They've certainly been fun to watch as this season has progressed, and watching them climb into the playoffs. The defense, the defense has played well, but how about Jonathan Taylor, Rick? He's got to be, I don't know if he's the front runner, but he's got to be in the top 2 for MVP.
Yeah, that was impressive the way he made that run Saturday night and put the game away against the Patriots, and he's done that all year for him. And as a Chicago Bears fan, I'm insanely jealous.
I never thought about that. I was wondering. I never even asked. Yeah, that makes complete sense. But yeah, how about the Bears? The Bears are such an enigma. I love watching Justin Fields. He is so fun to watch, but it looks like you've got this great player surrounded by jello or just craziness. And can he survive with that team?
Well, they better change coaches. I know that. I mean, the
GM
and the GM. Yes, Ryan Pace has got to go too. But
and the owner.
Well, yeah, that's a problem. You can't fire the owner, but it's crazy. I mean, they have not come up with game plans. The little bit that I've seen of them, and which is really enough. Um, they haven't come up with plans to that take advantage of what Justin Fields does best. And so I really think he's been put in an impossible position. And boy, that's just a team that needs to be blown up, much like your Indiana Pacers. Thought I'd throw that in.
But the Bears
Yeah.
need to be blown up beyond the team. They need to be blown up all the way through the management chart because they haven't gotten this right since Ditka left. I mean, they've had bad coach after bad GM after bad whatever for years after year after year. And, I think I listened some on the podcast to some Chicago guys who talk about it, and I've never heard Bears fans as turned off by it as it is right now. And, people, they're even asking people to quit going to the games because that's the only way that the management will listen to them.
COVID is crushing sports again. We've seen several things. The Louisville, Kentucky game canceled or postponed, whatever. That's a big one. A lot of these have not been big games, but that's a big non-conference game that they probably won't reschedule that, will they?
No, I don't think so, because Kentucky filled the slot on the schedule with Western Kentucky, so they don't have an opening. So this will be the first time it's not played since the 1983-84 season, and last year was played in front of no fans. So I think, like, I looked around, like DePaul's already had 2 forfeits because of COVID, and they're complaining about that. They're Kansas and Colorado, a conference game in the Big 12, got canceled yesterday. Indiana women's game got canceled yesterday against Wright State. I mean, it's all over the country. I think there were 12 or 13 men's Division I games canceled yesterday. So, and I've gotten texts from a couple people who saying it's going to get worse over the next few weeks.
And my beloved National Hockey League is shut down for the time being. I just wonder, guys.
I didn't see that. They shut down the whole league.
Yeah, they're shut down for a while. Oops, screw that up. Anyway, I just wonder at what point the college does what pro football is doing, where if you're asymptomatic, you can still play. I just wonder when they're going to move to that. I don't know if it's a good idea or bad idea. I'm not an epidemiologist, but the NFL
big words.
Well, I'm a word guy. That's when the NFL. I don't know if it's a good move or a bad move, but certainly the NFL is doing everything it can to get these games in. And just like the NBA, I mean, Christmas, you're going to have all these games and none of the stars are going to play. None of the stars.
Well, I ask you guys, I mean, football is one thing where fans sit outside. Basketball, I was at Louisville, played at Western Kentucky on Saturday, and it was sold out, 7,500 seat arena. Now, media has to wear masks along press row, but there's 7,500 people in the facility. Nobody's wearing a mask. Are any of you guys apprehensive about sitting inside at some of these games right now?
I'm wearing my mask because I have to at Assembly Hall, and I noticed at Assembly Hall they'll have people walking up and down the aisles with a sign asking people to please wear their masks, but most are not. Especially where I sit, I'm around students. They're damn well not wearing masks.
No.
So, but no, I'm not. I'm boosted. I'm like, hey man, it is what it is. It's I can't imagine that at some point I'm not going to catch it. At some day, I mean, I've avoided it up till now, but one of these days it's not going away. So eventually I'm going to catch it. So,
well, the good thing is, I'm sorry, I'm having headphone problems here. Okay. Yeah, at some point we're probably all going to get it. Unfortunately, my wife's office, everybody has it except for her.
That's crazy.
So it's crazy right now. But the good thing is if you are vaccinated and boosted and everything else, the worst thing you're probably looking at is cold or flu, which we've all dealt with. But I don't want to be quarantined for 10 days. I mean, nobody does. It's crazy. And, it's getting nuts. Like, I don't know if you're aware, but like the Colts now, During this season, we've had press conferences, where in person, and if you need somebody, you can sit in a room 6 feet away, and it's something that works. It's not optimal, but it works. Well, now we're going all virtual, which is really weird because everybody in the media gets tested once a week. We all wear masks. We're all boosted. So I'm not sure why they're doing that, but I'm not going to complain. We are in the middle of a global pandemic. So, if that's what they feel like they need to do.
The Colts test media members?
Yes, once a week.
Wow. A certain day you have to be there?
Usually on Wednesday, but with the Saturday game, it's Tuesday. So every week you got to drive on down there and get tested. And yet, if you're a player and you test positive, but you're asymptomatic, you're just fine. So I don't really understand. It seems like they're moving in two completely different directions on this.
What if you're a media member and test positive? You can't come to the game?
You can't. No. Nope.
Well, I think there's too much still of not knowing. There's just the unknowledge of long term, this, that, the other thing. That's some fears are misplaced. Some maybe the quarantine is making it worse. You got to get through it faster, I think. But yeah, I don't want to sit my daughter went to Costa Rica and spent 8 days in quarantine of her while she was in Costa Rica. So yeah, that was no fun. Yeah. But yeah, we just got to get through it. And pro sports is handling it how they are. College is different, and college is behind. I think they have to catch up. They don't feel like they have to get these games in as badly, but yet it's still a financial loss if there's a TV game that's not going to go on the air. And so conferences lose money. The networks are losing money. So everybody, it's affecting everybody. So they've got to find a better way, I think, of getting through this, because it's not going to stop. And especially as you see now, it seems like it's gotten a faster start this season than it did last year.
It's going to make it tricky too for the tournament selection committee, because when you look at records are deceptive. There are going to be some teams that have wins that are actually forfeits, and you're going to have a printout of every team of which games they actually won and which games were forfeited to them. And then, teams that didn't, it's going to hurt some teams from losing opportunities to stack wins because they didn't get to play the game. So the evaluation period for the NCAA tournament is going to be more challenging. And I'm sure in Indianapolis, their number one fear is they're going to have to go back to a bubble and all these regionals set up all around the country where, are going to have to change the tournament on the fly and put it somewhere where everybody can go. Where is it this year? New Orleans, maybe, or Atlanta? It's one or the other.
One of those places.